Having written a book myself, I kind of felt that one of the interesting parts of the writing process was write a bunch of stuff, put it on the side, and then look at it like a few months later. And then you're reading it as almost if you're a stranger to it. And of course, the first thing I said to myself was, "What idiot wrote this? Oh my! Oh, yeah, that was me." and you really start doing massive rewrites. Did you go through that process a little bit too?
It wasn't as long as a few months, but there were significant rewrites in it. It's the same as when I get to flex my writing skills at work every so often with a brief. I always want to finish a day or two before I'm supposed to, and then look. Well,
that's good. That's good for deadline purposes.
Right. Well, it absolutely is, but it gives me a day to go over it again and fix whatever I think is wrong. And quite frankly, if I pick it up now and look at it, I'd fix things today, and I'll probably always be that way. And I think most people are like that.
Oh, I am. Yeah, absolutely.
But there were rewrites. The difference between this and a book with a publisher, though, is that I didn't have a book editor doing this.
So neither did I. I had like 8 people be my editors. Yeah.
Right. Well, I had my wife. My wife helped me out. But, you know, I'll call it a real writer, for want of a better term, who is writing with a publishing house and an editor, will go back and forth. The editor makes recommendations, change this, do this, and then they have to rewrite things. I didn't have that, so it was all on myself. So people say to me, how long did it take you to write? And I estimate about 5 months based on the timeline I just gave you. And they're like, wow, 5 months, that's it? And I said, but understand, it was just me. For the next book, when I have a publisher, God willing, and an editor, it'll take longer because we'll be going back and forth with rewrites so that it's not only good in my mind, but it's good in their mind as well.
You are listening to Taking Care of Business, hosted by Richard Solomon, co-hosted by Paul Solomon, 2 attorneys at WCWP 88.1 FM, and we're interviewing a fellow attorney. This one is Andrew Wolfenson from New Jersey, 908-686-7230, specializing in divorce, bankruptcy, and litigation, but talking about the book In His Own Defense, which is actually kind of like a really nice, this is like the kind of like nice escape kind of book. It's not like, the legal technical stuff that we're used to, or reference. I wrote a reference book, so it's not the kind of book you read at the beach. My book is sort of like, you take it off the shelf because you grudgingly have to do so. No, this is more like a guilty pleasure kind of thing.
Exactly. Everybody tells me it's an easy read or a quick read, which I
you
think
want.
Is a double-edged sword, but I do appreciate when they say that.
No, you want that because as attention spans have changed, people don't even read newspapers and magazines anymore.
That's true, and people seem to enjoy it. And there is a little law in there. There are quotes throughout the book of the rules of ethics regarding the attorney-client privilege, and when attorneys have to keep information privileged and when they do not. And I cite both the American Bar Association and New Jersey rules for that, because it's a common thread throughout the book.
Well, let's take a look. Paul, why don't you take a look at Chapter 10.
A lawyer shall reveal information relating to the representation of a client to the proper authorities as soon as and to the extent the lawyer reasonably believes necessary to prevent the client or another person from committing a criminal, illegal, or fraudulent act that the lawyer reasonably believes is likely to result in death or substantial bodily harm. New Jersey Rules of Professional Conduct, paragraph 1.6.
See, everybody thinks that the attorney-client privilege is absolute, that if you go to an attorney and you tell your attorney something, they can't tell anybody. And for the most part, that's true, but there are certain ways, I don't want to say around it, but there's certain exceptions, and that's one of the main ones.
Well, I guess, is there a difference in the rule between something that happened in the past and something that is going to happen in the future?
The rule Paul just cited is a future rule. So if somebody comes into me and says, yeah, I did it, I killed a guy, I can't tell anyone.
Right.
But if they say, I'm going to go kill that guy, and I really believe that they're going to, then I can alert the authorities.
All right. Now, let's see here. We got, why don't you take a look at this one?
Okay. Okay, this is also from the New Jersey Rules of Professional Conduct, paragraph 1.6 D2. A lawyer may reveal confidential information to the extent the lawyer reasonably believes necessary to establish a claim or defense on behalf of the lawyer in a controversy between the lawyer and client, or to establish a defense to a criminal charge, civil claim, or disciplinary complaint against the lawyer based upon the conduct in which the client was involved.
Talk about that.
Client undertakes certain actions that are improper or illegal, and then basically says, my lawyer told me to do it, or my lawyer told me I should do that, and the lawyer never did. And it could lead to liability, civil or criminal liability on behalf of the attorney. He has the right to defend himself against that and say, disclose conversations between he and the client to the extent that he can exculpate himself of that charge or that problem.
See, nobody realizes how tough it is with attorneys when you have a lot of very private information of people. Maybe your clients know each other. They tell you all kinds of things. Sometimes they tell you things that are troublesome on an ethical or human level, and yet you have to keep it all in the vault.
We know
and
so
not
much.
and not give any judgment. A lot of times when people tell you things, you have to almost have a poker face when they say something, and you go, okay. Even though like inside you're going, whoa!
There are times when I will say to my client, really? You got to be kidding me. But for the most part, you're right. You have to just take it all in. And oftentimes it's almost callous. And I cite the line from the movie, the Harrison Ford movie, The Fugitive.
Oh, I didn't kill my wife. Is that the one?
I don't care.
Yeah, no, he goes.
My clients say things, and I say, I don't care.
Yeah, I remember that. It was where Tommy Lee Jones goes.
Exactly.
Was chasing after the fugitive, Harrison Ford.
He's in that tunnel, the sewer tunnel.
Right, and he's about to jump over, and he says something like, I didn't kill my wife.
I don't care.
I don't care.
And I said to clients, I don't care. And then I say, listen, I do care about you. I don't mean to say that I don't care, but for purposes of what we're doing here, and that especially in divorce cases, because New Jersey is a no-fault divorce state. I don't care what they did. It doesn't matter. So I don't care.
Well, I guess I do it a little differently. I don't say that I don't care. I just say that the system doesn't care.
Well, then I clarify it, but
Yeah.
I just say it that way for more of just for almost the shock value of I don't care. And they look at me and really, and I say, well, okay, I do care about you, but as far as what we're doing here, it doesn't matter.
Right.
So you can, if you want to vent, and I'll hold the phone away from my head, but it won't matter here. So we have to get past that and focus on what we need to focus on.
So what does Goldberg get jammed up for?
Goldberg gets jammed up for allegedly killing his client's husband.
Okay. And there's got to be some elements of real stories, things that you've read, whatever that. I mean, what was it? Was it Fred McMurray? Was in Double Indemnity? Was that a Hitchcock movie, something like that? So what did you grab? Because let's face it, nothing is more troublesome than being suspect number one.
Well, again, it was more of a people talk all the time, and they joke, and most people
and
wives,
there's usually an element of truth and humor.
but most people's wives. I've heard so many wives say this because, especially when the man is the worker and the wife doesn't work or makes less money, and the husband has a lot of life insurance, he's worth more dead than alive. And we all hear that, and my clients say it all the time, and I say it all the time. And that was the genesis, along with the article that I read, to start creating a process in my head. Now, as far as getting an attorney involved in it, it was really a matter of just having a client accused. There's no pull to that. That doesn't mean anything. Make a twist on it. And then the twist is conversations between this woman and the attorney and how that might lead to where someone might think he was involved and how he has to go about clearing himself.
You know how they say that doctors make the worst patients? Do lawyers make the worst clients?
Absolutely.
Okay, why?
Because they think they know everything.
Okay. Is Goldberg a victim of that?
Goldberg is a victim of a lot of different things, but that's not one of them, believe it or not. Goldberg has a decent legal head on his shoulders as long as he's thinking of the law itself and not thinking of his own misery or his physical pleasure.
But how does he cope when, as lawyers, we give objective advice. But how do you be objective when you are the subject of the legal scrutiny?
Oh, he's not objective necessarily, and that's why he has to get help from other people. So without going too far,
Yeah.
he goes to Brazil, and that's why it's an international type book, and he has help from others who kind of keep him grounded and focused on what he needs to do for real to find what he needs to find.
Okay. I'm reading a section from the American Bar Association Canons of Professional Ethics. The lawyer owes entire devotion to the interest of the client, warm zeal in the maintenance and defense of his rights, and the exertion of his utmost learning and ability to the end that nothing can be taken or withheld from him.
That's kind of heady.
We have a very large burden as attorneys. I don't think other people, meaning non-attorneys, understand that sometimes.
And it's never portrayed in the media, in any of the law shows.
No, it's never portrayed that way. And sometimes they talk about, well, you're just, such an advocate. But they never follow up with, well, I have to be. That's my job. That's why I'm getting paid, or that's why I'm doing what I do. And it becomes very burdensome, and that's the dissatisfaction part of it, perhaps, for a lot of people, is really, how do you go in sometimes and defend someone you know did something wrong? We all do it. And we can say it's because everybody deserves their day in court and everybody deserves a fair chance, but there are times when everybody has to say, really? Am I really doing this?